Okay, we are live with the daily Bitcoin podcast on time, 8 o'clock. Well, I think it's 8:01, but I think I put headphones on before 8. 9 p.m. Central, Sunday through Thursday. Craig Leblanc with the daily Bitcoin podcast. I'm going to try something new. So y'all can stop watching right now. Just go ahead and flip to another channel while I experiment here. I don't want to embarrass myself in front of too many people. So unless you want to come behind the kitchen and see how things are cooking back here, I'm going to try to do some commentary on something that I saw with the All In podcast. By the way, if you don't watch the All In podcast, I love it. Like a lot of those guys on there. David Sachs, the crypto czar, came to speak this last Sunday. And there's been a lot of stuff going around. I'm not sure if y'all know who David Sachs is, but he goes all the way back to the PayPal days with Elon Musk. By the way, just for the record, I was an Elon Musk fanboy long ago, even before Trump announced. And early investors, well, early for me, long ago, in Tesla stock. Everybody knows I have a Tesla. We love it. And so I've been following Elon for quite a while through SpaceX, Tesla, all that kind of stuff. David Sachs is part of the PayPal mafia, kind of been still close to Elon throughout all the craziness of selling PayPal and all this mess and how sticky that was. And he's also been close to President Trump. And so when he was picked to become the crypto czar, I was kind of excited because I did not know all of David's stance on Bitcoin. And my fear was that, like a lot of people who are new to this industry, that he may just group Bitcoin and crypto and Ethereum all in the same. And then I heard all this FUD about how David had all this other exposure to Solana and Ethereum, and he was just pumping his bags, and that's all fabricated. That's all a lie. He comes clean, says, I got rid of all of my crypto exposure. Now, have I verified this? No, but is it normal for people to lie about? I think we're seeing a bunch of that. So not wanting to make this too political, but I do think that what he says and how he describes Bitcoin, the Bitcoiners should be excited just if you pay attention to his language. It's rare that I see people of power and authority in politics or in business or outside the Bitcoin bubble, outside the we're all in, we're hodlers, we're going up forever, we're building on Bitcoin. Outside of that community, you just don't see a lot of guys speaking using the proper framework. But the way he speaks, I'm just going to let him talk, and then I'm going to pause it and do some commentary. So I might screw this up, but here we go. I'm using this new StreamYard stuff. We'll add it to stage over here. And so this guy right here, JCal, he basically is saying, are they picking favorites? Are they of all the cryptos that are non-Bitcoin, are they picking favorites? And David goes into explain the difference between Bitcoin and everything else. Bitcoin being a commodity, everything else being a security, Bitcoin having fixed supply, truly decentralized, a couple other things that were truly important that he mentions. And I'm like, holy cow, it looks like he might get it. I'm not sure, but y'all let me know what y'all think. Like and subscribe this channel, but not too much actually, because this is, I'm still ramping up and trying to get all my tech stack done. So hold off on the like and subscribe for a minute. Here we go.
These three and not these three. So that made a lot of people, putting myself out of it, like, whoa, what's going on here? Is he picking favorites? And that's, I guess, everybody's big concern. So maybe you could assuage that.
We're not. Yeah, we're not picking favorites, obviously, except I will say this. We do think Bitcoin is special.
What? We're not picking favorites, and we do think Bitcoin is special. This is when he got my attention. I'm like, oh, well, that's rare. Let me see, a politician that might know the difference between, and I actually don't call David Sachs a politician. He is a entrepreneur, business owner, investor in Silicon Valley, one of the more successful investors. And I've always liked, his thought process and his framework and stuff. So I think he is getting involved in politics to do a service, but he's not a lifetime political person kind of stuff. I'm not even sure this might be his first time in politics. If anyone wants to say in the comments. All right. Anyway. Bitcoin is special. We will continue.
And I can get into the reasons
explain why. That's a great thing. Yeah.
Well, explain why. Bitcoin is the original cryptocurrency. It's the first one. It's the only one that doesn't have an issuer, right? It's very decentralized.
The only one that doesn't have an issuer. Okay. This is a point that a lot of people skip over. If you want to control a cryptocurrency, and their founders are still operating this thing, controlling this thing, changing this thing from the top down, they have a central authority that can change the way their algorithm works. They can change a consensus model. They can issue more tokens. They can dilute supply. They can increase supply. They can restrict supply. They can control. There's a group of men. There's a founder still alive working it. Bitcoin doesn't have this problem. There's no throat to choke. There's no CEO to call in. There's no CEO's family that they can threaten if they don't make this crypto do what they want. Can't throw the founder of Bitcoin in jail or the board, because there is none. Okay, it's an open protocol just running. So a lot of people don't know the difference between when they say, well, should I get into this other one? Did you hear about this other crypto? It's going up. It's got these use cases and all this mess. Okay, this is a danger, because typically if a group has power, they're going to use it. And many times it's for their own benefit. Bitcoin doesn't have this exposure, this risk. So anyway, I'll let him continue.
It's, in crypto, they call this the Immaculate Conception. We don't really know how it got here. We don't know who Satoshi is. It's almost mystical, you would say.
Yes.
It's the most valuable one. It has a $2 trillion market cap, and it's the most secure. It's never been hacked, right? So we're now, over 15 years into
the most secure, never been hacked. I'm like, hey, this guy's pitching Bitcoin. He's pitching Bitcoin over all the others. Okay, you're going to see. Keep watching. You're going to see how he goes from there's Bitcoin, and then there's everything else. Bitcoin does this, everything else. Bitcoin has this function. It's got, it's decentralized. It's got, just watch him play it out. I love this stuff.
This journey. And there's been a lot of people who've been skeptical along the way, and there's been a lot of ups and downs. But here it is. I mean, I remember back in 2011, I think it's the first time I bought a Bitcoin. I think it was at $120. Now it's at $90,000. Again, there've been all sorts of wild swings along the way, but this thing just keeps chugging along. And you can think of that $2 trillion market cap as like a $2 trillion bug bounty. If there was a way to hack this.
$2 trillion bug bounty. Now here he is. Does it sound like David Sacks is convincing people about Bitcoin, educating people about Bitcoin? Let me tell you what Bitcoin is. He is defending Bitcoin. I want y'all to count how many times this man says Bitcoin. This does not sound like a shitcoiner. This does not sound like someone that's backing crypto. This is not. And watch how he positions the United States, or if anyway, how the United States is now positioned. Fantastic news. I love how he says the $2 trillion is a bug bounty. A bug bounty, which means if you can find the bug that allows you to drain the $2 trillion or to find a way to hack Bitcoin, there's a $2 trillion purse, a prize that some digital artist could come in and just crack the Bitcoin code. And there's a $2 trillion prize for anyone that can do that. And it just sits there standing, waiting for anyone to attempt to hack it. And it hasn't been hacked yet. All right, so let's continue here.
There's every incentive in the world. And by hack, I mean like to double spend, create basically a counterfeit Bitcoin, I guess would be the way for people to think about it. And
it is a miracle it hasn't been compromised. I think we can all say that.
Well, I don't know if it's a miracle. I think it's exceptional design.
Sure.
And so I think what you could.
I love that. Exceptional design. This goes to the engineer in me, where it's like, it's just a really solid piece of engineering. It's just a solid piece of coding. It's just a very crafty, smart, mathematical, cryptographic thing that someone has built, that someone has put together. And we can all verify and look at it and be like, wow, that's a very sturdy bridge. And it looks like all the load calculations are fantastic. And it's very elegant and it's very streamlined. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of waste. That's what he's talking about. It's just music to my ears to hear somebody that's right under the president, called the crypto czar, that is speaking like this about Bitcoin. I don't know. Just excites me. Let's continue.
Could say is that it's been tested in a very robust way, and there's been every incentive to basically break the encryption. and it continues to chug along. And so I think the price has gone up as the protocol has gotten more acceptance. And this is another point is,
I love how he calls it, as the protocol has gained more acceptance. How many people in his position, governors, politicians, senators, are referring to Bitcoin as a protocol? This is something that a lot of people that are into Bitcoin don't even understand how important it is to call this a protocol, and to differentiate it from all the other cryptos. So I'll let him keep going.
Is that Bitcoin is the most widely accepted as a store of value throughout the world.
Yeah.
So we do believe it should be treated special. Now, that being said,
how about that? So we do believe it should be treated special. I know there was a lot of Bitcoiners that were fearful that the US government was going to, or Trump was going to come in, maybe his administration was going to pump the bags of the crypto bros. But look how he is distinguishing one from the other. There is Bitcoin, there's Bitcoin's good for America, Bitcoin's good for the American, Bitcoin's good for the South African, Bitcoin's good for the human, it's good for the family, it's good for the business, it's good for the city, it's good for the country, it's good for the planet. And Bitcoin is open to everybody. Everybody can use it. You don't have to ask permission if you're a government. You don't need the permission of the Bitcoiners. The Bitcoiners don't need the permission of the governments. The cities don't need the permissions of the states. Anybody can go buy Bitcoin on the network, and Bitcoin is just going to TikTok next block. Okay, so love it. Let's keep going.
We're also creating the digital asset stockpile. So all the other digital assets.
Explain the difference between these two. So there's a digital asset stockpile. Mm-hmm. That's the picker. And then on the other side, there's a strategic reserve for Bitcoin, because we do acquire Bitcoin, we, the United States of America, when we seize from terrorists, criminals, et cetera. We do seize these. And then we often make the mistake of liquidating them when maybe we should be holding them. Yeah. So explain that architecture.
So we have the reserve and we have the stockpile. So the reserve is just Bitcoin. The goal is long-term preservation.
How you like that? The reserve is just Bitcoin, long-term preservation. The reserve is just Bitcoin, long-term preservation. Love it. Let's keep going.
Think of it as like a digital Fort Knox for digital gold.
Did he just say that? A digital Fort Knox for a digital gold. Guys, this is what we wanted. I think if the United States is going to get into it, this is how we do it. And let's keep going.
We want to put the digital gold in there. We want to keep it secure. We never want to sell it. That's the goal of the reserve. And you're right that we've made the mistake in the past of selling this stuff. At one point in time, we had about 400,000 Bitcoin on the federal balance.
Man, what a blunder that was. We had 400,000 Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Who knows what we're down to now? I hear it's somewhere between 1 to 200. We'll see.
We sold roughly half of that for something like $360 million total. If we had held all of that, it would be worth, just the portion we sold would be worth over 17 billion. So we made this mistake of prematurely selling Bitcoin when we should have held it. We don't want to make that mistake with regard to the rest of it. We think there's around 200,000 coins left on the federal balance sheet, but the truth is that nobody knows because we've never done a proper audit. So
surprise, surprise, confiscated Bitcoin. Nobody knows who holds it. Nobody knows how much is there. And so I think this is a good part of what they're doing, is saying, look, we've got all this Bitcoin, maybe seized from criminals. Who knows how they get it? Let's just assume it's big drug dealers. I don't know. But now they've got this Bitcoin. Do they sell it? What he's saying is no. We're going to accumulate it and we're going to hold on to it. We're not selling. We're not going to make that mistake again where we sold 200,000 Bitcoin for 300 million. Now it's worth 17 billion. Okay, so not making that mistake again. I like that.
Part of what this executive order provides is that we're going to do for the first time a government-wide accounting of the digital assets that we actually have. So,
and if digital assets emerge in some department, I don't know, the FBI seizes some, the CIA seizes some, I don't know which organization winds up having them, they're going to be legally required to report that and then put them in the reserve.
Well, they'll be legally required to report it, and then they'll go in the reserve if there's a final adjudication. So, obviously, if those coins could go back as restitution to victims, or if the person who they were seized from wins their court case and gets them back, they're not going to go into the Federal Reserve. But if there's been a final adjudication and a final forfeiture, yes, those will go into the reserve. Anyway, that's Bitcoin. Okay, so then you got the stockpile. Let me just talk about that. So first of all, like I said, we don't know exactly what digital assets the federal government has, I've seen reports that it might have, for example, 50,000 ETH, which is Ethereum. But again, we need to get to the bottom of that. When we figure out exactly what the assets are, we're going to move them into the digital stockpile. The purpose of the stockpile is responsible stewardship. It's a place for safekeeping. It's a centralized, you could say, account under the direction of the Secretary of the Treasury. And the Secretary of the Treasury will figure out how to maximize the values of these holdings. Now, there's a couple of important differences between stockpile and reserve. So one is the reserve, the executive order actually provides that the Secretary of the Treasury will not sell the Bitcoin. Okay, we're prohibited.
They will not sell the Bitcoin. Spoken like a true hodler. To think that my country is now in the hodl category. Let's hope they stick to it. Good luck having your diamond hands. It's been a hell of a ride for us, the Bitcoin individuals. But we'll see if this legal structure can hold up and not sell. So tempting to sell this asset, especially with all the pressures from the powers of inside the government that are maybe in the banking system. Might see this as a threat. Maybe a new administration could come in and sell the Bitcoin because they don't want to give it any more power than it already has over them. Anyway, let's keep going.
From selling the Bitcoin. There's no such prohibition with respect to the stockpile. If the Secretary of the Treasury decides that it's in the long-term interest of the U.S. to rebalance the portfolio or change the portfolio, the Secretary has the discretion to do that.
Okay.
Now, this one, I'm kind of confused. I don't understand what they mean. They can rebalance the portfolio. That gives me a little bit of concern that you might be picking winners there, or someone has the power to pick an altcoin winner. In my opinion, I think if they get any altcoins, they sell it and trade it for Bitcoin. That's just my opinion. That's what I did in my personal stock, sold all my altcoins, put them all into Bitcoin, putting a lot of my energy into the Bitcoin network. I think America should follow suit. Of course, they're going to end up as they seize property. People are going to have different altcoins. It just comes into the treasury. And I like that it's coming into a central authority that can keep tabs on it. It doesn't just magically disappear. But hopefully they can just convert it to Bitcoin. That'd be my suggestion.
Which makes sense because there's a long tail of crypto. We might see something that we don't have the ability to predict the future. And we don't have the staff to sit there and look at these assets every day like a fund manager would and say, what do we do with these? What percentage should it be of the overall stock pot of the overall holdings? So maybe the decision with Ethereum is, hey, this thing's waning. We just put it into Bitcoin because we know that's the more solid one. Yeah, that's what I'm reading into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's largely fair. I mean, look, I think that the stockpile should be subject to good portfolio management, right? And fortunately, we have a Secretary of the Treasury who is an extremely successful.
This one concerns me a little. I don't know enough about this, but the stockpile having a good portfolio manager. I think the best way to manage a stockpile of non-Bitcoin crypto is to sell it. When do you sell it? As soon as you get control of it. Sell it, smash buy Bitcoin next.
Former hedge fund manager. So he's going to figure out the best way to manage these assets. And we give him the flexibility to do portfolly management. Whereas,
and he has to live and die with what he does. He has to make those decisions, and that's going to be, part of how he's evaluated by the president. So hopefully he's going to be sharp about that.
Right, but the reserve is different, right? The reserve is just Digital Fort Knox. Now, there's one other.
The reserve is different. Are we hearing this, fellas? The reserve is different. The reserve is just Fort Knox. We don't sell Bitcoin. I think America. I could be. Maybe I'm not reading into the tea leaves enough, but. Did America just become a Bitcoin hodler? It sure does sound like what he's saying is we are part of the hodl. And this is not some insignificant economy. This is the greatest economy ever to be. This is the largest economy on earth. This is the strongest entrepreneurial population is now saying we will just hold our Bitcoin, period. End of story. Don't you think all these other states are going to start thinking, look what America just did. Wonder what we should do. Should we hodl? Let's keep going.
Another important difference between stockpile and reserve. So with respect to reserve, the EO provides that the secretaries, that I'm talking about Treasury and Commerce, they're allowed to figure out strategies to accumulate more Bitcoin for the reserve if those strategies are budget neutral and don't cost the taxpayer anything. Okay. So it's possible that we could, I'm not saying that we will, but it authorizes them to acquire more Bitcoin if they can figure out a way to do it.
They are now authorized to acquire more Bitcoin. if they can figure out a way to do it in a tax neutral way. What are tax neutral ways? Confiscation. I'm sure that's everyone's favorite. Take it. Okay, might not be good for the Bitcoiner. We could use our tariffs. We could we could sell other cryptos, smash buy Bitcoin on the spot. There's 3. Let's see if we can think of any others. Throw it in the comments. How can America acquire Bitcoin?
That doesn't.
Just thought of one. Maybe we could mine it. Got any extra energy, America? Who knows?
Impact the federal budget or the deficit or taxpayers, right?
Okay, well, I had a very simple suggestion for this, which I'll float up the flagpole here and see what you think. We've talked about it on previous all-ins before you on it. How about a simple crypto tax? Crypto wants to be legal.
Yeah, I didn't like this part. Terrible idea. Anyway, okay. Personally, I don't agree with taxing any type of crypto or anything like that. I think it's just going to run Bitcoin to a more friendly jurisdiction. Bitcoin goes where it's treated best.
System here, we're going to need to take just the most modest of taxes, de minimis.
Though I do like David's response. Listen at this. The most modest of taxes. He gives the classic response. Here we go. Go to
fact in the native crypto and put it in the stockpile. This seems to me like a very
that's always how
win.
Taxes start, is that they're described as being very modest. When the income tax started, it only applied to like 1,000 Americans.
Yes.
And the legislators swore up.
Okay, I don't know this side, honestly, of David Sachs, but I like that response.
And down that it would never be applied to middle-class people. So I don't particularly like the idea of new taxes, even if it's promised that they just won't affect people very much. That sounds burdensome to me. But look, we have very successful.
Well, this would, and just so you know, would be like more like a sales tax that would be handled by Coinbase, would be handled by Robinhood, would be handled by those platforms. They would admit.
Spoken like a true liberal over there. I do like this guy a little bit, though. I like having his voice in there, but nope. Next.
Minister it. It would be a transactional tax, not an income tax. So if you have a bunch, it's not a wealth tax and a seizing tax. But I'll let you percolate on it. Yeah.
If you can convince the Secretary of the Commerce or the Secretary of Treasury.
Oh, I love it how he throws it up. Yep. You know what? If you want to go convince, there they are. Go talk them into it. That's not, it's almost as hard. No, it's actually infinitely harder to convince the Bitcoiners, the Bitcoin network, to change the network. But anyway, yeah, Jake, I'll go for it.
To run with your idea, then it could potentially happen. I mean, they have the flexibility to figure out budget neutral ways to accumulate Bitcoin. I don't know what those ways are going to be, but they're creative. They're very successful businessmen. And if they figure out a way to do this, then it can be considered. That's the point.
Okay, well, I'll be in the commissary later having lunch with you. You can introduce me. So let me just give you a fastball here. Well, we'll see if it gets in the strike zone. The appearance of impropriety is what people are concerned with. The picking of winners and losers. President Trump was the crypto president. He went and he gave that famous speech. I'm going to get rid of Gary Gensler. We're going to make it legal. And to his credit, he has fulfilled that promise. Which means, hey, the donor class on that side said, we're going to back the crypto president, not the anti-crypto team. Which means a lot of people who are on the Twitter and the socials have donated a lot. They have a lot of holdings. So this appearance, which you've now, I would give you credit, have cleaned up here. Hey, there's 2 different things going on here, and we're not using taxpayer money. We get all that. But the appearance here is, hey, maybe somebody's going to benefit. Of course, they came after you first for that without the facts. You were very clear.
Okay, yeah. So for this part, we can go ahead and stop it here. That's kind of what I wanted everyone to see. It's what I wanted to talk about. I think America just became a hodler. I think they became some diamond hands. We'll see how long. At least they're claiming to be. Let me correct myself. They are claiming to be Bitcoin hodlers. Diamond hands. We're only holding. We're not selling. We're stockpiling. I'm not sure what this does for Bitcoin. I would like to get some of the OG Bitcoiners on here to kind of rip it up. I would love to hear Surfer Jim in the background right now. I'm sure he's going to be losing his shit. He does not think. He's like, show me where a country benefit or where Bitcoin's benefit for a nation to buy Bitcoin. That's still a little bit over my pay grade to really dive in with those guys, but I sure would like to hear some of our original Bitcoiners give their commentary on this. Speaking of commentary, Next week, I want to say I have 3 guests. I've got one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday, one on Thursday. I know we have Rob Wallace with Bitcoin News coming up. I want to say he is my first guest on Tuesday. And then, boy, every time I'm trying to upload a calendar, it's always taking his time. Yes, Rob Wallace is going to be next Tuesday. He's coming on. He's killing it with the Bitcoin News, and then he's got a little podcast, and he teamed up with my boy from Australia. Got Bob Burnett coming the following day on Wednesday. The man, the myth, the legend, and then my personal favorite, one of my buds from my Bitcoin meetup, Morgan's coming back. I invited him. I said, hey, we should do some commentary on what David Sachs just said, because we like to get into that kind of stuff. So anyway, wanted to show y'all that, give y'all a little commentary on it. If you haven't seen it, go watch the whole thing again. I think David Sachs just laid out, at least verbally, they're saying the right stuff. They're using the right language. They seem to be very much so differentiating Bitcoin from everything else, as it should be, as a commodity, as the first one, as dominant, as decentralized. Man, I think that's great news. If America's going to come in, what a way to come in. We seem to be flipping the script here, as opposed to where we were with this last president versus the Trump presidency. So anyway, I thought that was good news. At least somebody should be talking about that, right? All right. So next, I had a friend of mine ask me, why is Bitcoin going down? Why is Bitcoin going up? What causes this kind of stuff? And I think I actually found the best answer to that, because I often wonder it myself. But I was listening to Jack Mallers explain that this is a liquidity thing, and it makes sense that if you want to buy Bitcoin, what do you need? You need cash. You need liquid assets. You connect your checking account to Strike or to River, and you send US dollars. Well, if you've got nothing in your checking account and nothing in your savings account, you're not liquid. So now maybe you go sell something, but that takes time. So the liquidity in your personal liquidity is gone. That's maybe you can wait till your paycheck comes in. Well, on a global scale, Trump and Musk have been tightening up liquidity. All this money eventually made it into Amazon. It made it to Whole Foods. It made it to the gas station. If Trump and Musk are stopping $1 trillion from getting into the hands of consumers on the base level, and then they're spending it and it's rolling into conservatives, Bitcoiners, non-Bitcoiners, whatever, it's ending up in checking and savings account. That's the global liquidity. And so if that just stopped, if they're like freezing, I know, $1 billion here, $1 billion there, $2 billion here, 600 million there, then those checks aren't going out. And so the not to mention, with the economy going down, people that are living off of assets being sold, assets are worth less, and now they got to sell more. It's like a snowball effect. The point is that show me the liquidity. Where are the checking accounts with extra cash ready to buy? Okay, and so and then you've also got these sellers. People are having to sell assets. Well, Bitcoin is the most liquid, most acceptable, most 24/7 asset that you can get your hands on. If you need cash now, you're going to sell your Bitcoin. Okay. As far as if you need it quick, it's a sellable asset. It's not like selling a car. It's not like selling a house. It's not like selling even sometimes stocks. I can sell my Bitcoin on a Sunday, at lunch, 24/7, anytime. And in 10 minutes it's there. And then I can send it, and I can convert it to any currency, and I can send it across the planet. Everybody wants Bitcoin. Bitcoin's always open. It's always for sale. Okay, so talk about the most liquid asset. So the point is that when liquidity is tight, Bitcoin leads. That means when liquidity is tight, Bitcoin's going to dip, because of all the assets in the asset class. It's the one that moves fastest, cheapest, most frictionless, the least amount of permission. It can go across the planet, any volume. It just verifies. So as we start looking for quick cash, quick money, Bitcoin's going to be a first mover. It's going to move before real estate. Like if you have to get a hold of 10,000 right now, are you going to go sell your $500,000 house for that 10,000? Or are you going to go sell $10,000 worth of Bitcoin? Or are you going to sell your car? So think about the assets that you have. If you got a Bitcoin, you got a car, you got a house, and you got a checking account that's down to zero. Okay. Your Bitcoin is your quick cash, right? If you're a Bitcoin only guy. And you're getting pinched and you're getting squeezed. Now, maybe you do want to sell your house before you sell your Bitcoin, but you don't sell a house like it's not fast. It takes time. Bitcoin is a fast moving asset. And so when liquidity dries up, Bitcoin moves at the speed of light. It moves fast. However, when liquidity shows back up and the smart money's out, it's like, oh, I can tell you every Bitcoiner, if they got $20,000 just from grandma and they didn't realize it, they would all be smash buying some major, the most of us would probably put all 20,000 in it, but we would at least buy 5 or 10. I promise you, that's the Bitcoin mindset. If I've got extra cash, I'm putting it in deep storage unless I absolutely need it. And so Bitcoin leads when liquidity shows up. Bitcoin leads as a sell-off asset when liquidity is tightened and the checking accounts are empty. Anyway, I thought I'd at least put my version of that. It does me good to just explain it more and more to people. But I heard that from Jack Mallers, and I thought it was a great explanation. He's got a good understanding on it. If you just go listen to, I think he said this on Monday or the Monday before that. He does a way better job of explaining it than me. So I encourage my listeners to go to his Monday podcast, 6 p.m. I think Eastern. He goes live on YouTube. So good little channel there. Love everything he says. But anyway, it was great to see David say what he said. I think that's good signal. I think a smart country with smart people, with good leaders that are in charge, trying to be true public servants. If they use their head, why wouldn't they try to put Bitcoin as a stabilizing force in their treasury? I mean, I think if I was running a city, I would. I've never been in government, but seems like a logical thing to do for an intelligent leader. And what are we going to do to stop them? It's not like Bitcoiners can stop anybody from buying Bitcoin, and we don't want to. So I say Bitcoin's for everybody. It's for everybody. It's for every church. It's for every company. It's for every family. It's for every business. It's for every country, state, city, you name it, village. Bitcoin is for everyone. And I'm glad to see that America's seems to be on the right track. So anyway, thought that was cool. All right, guys, that's all I'm doing for today. Tomorrow, I don't think I'm not supposed to do it. This might be my last day of the week. So Sunday through Thursday, I will be back on Sunday. I will be traveling. So I'll be doing on the road from the Tesla on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I'm going up to Huntsville, Alabama. Working with a potential sponsor for my other podcast for Parks and Rec. Those of you that don't know, I have another podcast specifically dedicated to another family that I have, the Parks and Rec family. Man, I love that group of people. So going up there, and then I'm going to Nashville on Wednesday to the Nashville BitDev meeting this coming Wednesday. And so I may air from the little meetup or something, or from my car, I don't know. But the next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, probably Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I will be airing this show from the Tesla. Hopefully I don't get vandalized, but if I do, I'll wear it like a badge of honor. All right. This is Craig Leblanc, the doorman with the Daily Bitcoin Podcast, airing every Sunday through Thursday, 9 p.m. We're a group of content creators that are trying to just get the word out, be the mouthpiece for the Bitcoin community, and try to communicate to new people, bringing in as many new people as possible. If you are new to this podcast, there are many other good ones. One that I watch a lot, anything by BTC Sessions. He's a great guy. He has a great how-to video content. So if you're wanting to know how to get a hard wallet, how to get on an exchange, how to move your Bitcoin, store your seed phrases, any of that, he's like an encyclopedia of content. So please go there, give him any support you can, throw him some love, throw him some money. He's doing a great job. He's doing a great service to the whole planet, and he's one of the best at doing this. We need more guys like him, and I'm sure he would say the same thing. So if you want to make more BT session videos, believe me, he'll take all the help. Start another channel, whatever. If you would like to start a Bitcoin podcast, and I encourage you to take the first step and just do it. Create content, and not just for YouTube, but get it on Nostr, get it on Primal, get it on Damus, anything like that. The more, the better. And then who else? Oh, Jeff Booth. Shout out to him. Anything by him. Love Michael Saylor's content too. But to me, Jeff is, gosh, I'm just going to say it. Jeff is probably my favorite Bitcoiner as far as explaining Bitcoin and being a really big thought leader in that. So anything by him is going to be awesome. If you can catch any Bitcoin spaces, I know there's some really good spaces starting at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning, I think 7 days a week. A lot of my old friends are still doing that. So catch them on X Spaces. It's kind of live. Sometimes it gets a little rowdy, but that's okay. That's just gives you a little experience of that flavor of Bitcoiners, but love them all. All right, guys, I'll be signing off tonight. I will see y'all on Sunday. Craig Leblanc signing off with the Bitcoin Daily Podcast. Oh, wait, hold on. Before I sign off, I want to make sure I run this clip that Chris made for us, the outro clip. All right, Chris, great job on this one. And I don't know, I think we've got another one coming up, so we'll see how this one goes. All right, good night, guys. Bye.
Welcome to the Daily Bitcoin Podcast, where knowledge meets financial freedom. We're here to break down the world of Bitcoin. No fluff, no hype. Just real talk about how this digital asset is reshaping the future of money. Inflation is stealing your purchasing power, but what if there was a way to fight back? Enter Bitcoin, the digital currency that empowers you to take control of your wealth. Ever wondered why your money doesn't stretch as far as it used to? At the Daily Bitcoin Podcast, we educate, inform, and inspire. From expert interviews to breaking news, we bring you everything you need to stay ahead in the Bitcoin community. Market updates, expert insights, real-world use cases, and practical tips to navigate the Bitcoin economy. So whether you're a seasoned Bitcoin investor or just getting started, this is your daily dose of Bitcoin wisdom. Don't miss out. Subscribe now, hit that bell icon, and let's break free from the chains of inflation, one Bitcoin at a time. The Daily Bitcoin Podcast, your gateway to financial freedom.